Hello and welcome to TN Academy. Today we are doing question 4. For question 4, we are asked to prove that cos 2x equals sine x is the same as 2 sine squared x plus sine x minus 1 is equal to 0. So for this question, we have to use trigonometric identities. We'll start with, just leave it as is. We'll start with cos 2x equals sine x, all right? And we could use the the trigonometric identity cos 2x. So we're using this identity. I'll use a different color so we don't get mixed up. And the identity states that cos 2x is equal to 1 minus 2 sine squared x, okay? And if we substitute this identity into our initial equation, we'll find that 1 becomes 1 minus 2 sine squared x is equal to sine x. And then if we bring all of our variables to one side, we will then get 2 sine squared x plus sine x become minus 1 is equal to 0. And that is the answer to part A. And this was done by bringing this left side over to the right side. All right, so that is the answer to part A. So for our next question, part B, we're asked to solve the equation sine 2x equals sine x. And we're doing this over the interval. X is greater than or equal to negative pi, and x is less than or equal to pi. And so from the first part of the question, we know that cos 2x equals sine x is also the same as 2 sine squared x plus sine x minus 1. So to solve this equation, what we're first going to do is take the equation 2 sine squared x plus sine x minus 1 is equal to 0. We're going to take this equation and we are going to factor it. Now, to do that, we have to look at the coefficients of our variables, of our factors. So for the first factor, we have the variable 2. Second factor, we have the variable 1, even though it's not shown. And for the last variable, we have the value of negative 1. Okay, I'm going to write these as A, B, C. So we want to find numbers that add up to B, so B is 1. So add to B, I'll just put a plus there, and multiply to A times C. So that will be equal to negative 2, all right? So something that adds to 1 and multiplies to negative 2, okay? So two numbers that we can find that add up to 1 and multiply to negative 2 will be 2 and negative 1, because 2 minus 1 is 1, all right? So we will use these variables to factor our equation. So I will show you how to do this. We write 2 sine squared x, and we will substitute these two values for our second term, sine x. So instead of being plus sine x, it will now be plus 2 sine x minus sine x, and then we'll put our last term, which is negative 1, and all of this is equal to 0. So now we can find common factors between our variables. So for the first one, we have the factor of 2 sine x. We have 2 sine x, yep. You can factor that out. get sine x plus 1. And for our second factor, we have the common variable of -1. So then we'll get sine x plus 1. And now what we can do is group these common terms and rewrite this in factored form, essentially. So it just becomes 2 sine x minus 1 times multiplied by this new common term that we found, which is sine x plus 1. We have it twice there. Sorry, this is supposed to be plus 1 here. And we multiply it by this common term, which is sine x plus 1, almost. And it's all equal to 0. Okay, so now we have the factored form of our equation. And to solve this, when we solve this, what we're looking for is what term will make this equation equal to 0, right? That's how we solve for our x values. So if we look at both of our factors, both of our terms here, we have 2 sine x minus 1. This is our first term, so we're going to look when is this equal to 0. And we can see by rearranging, sine x will be equal to 0 when x is when sine x, this equation, this factor will be equal to 0 when sine x is equal to 1 over 2. And for our second term, we have sine x plus 1 is equal to 0. So this term will be, our equation will equal 0 when, if we rearrange, when sine x is equal to -1. So then our terms are, our factors, our roots, you would call them, are sine x is equal to 1/2, or sine x is equal to -1. Okay, now we have to find the corresponding x values for these two cases. So we know to solve for our x value, we have our two cases where sine x is either equal to 1/2 or it is equal to -1. And we know that our interval is from -pi to pi. So if we draw out our Cartesian plane, well, can't really do that, but it'd go from pi to -pi. Okay, so we know that sine x is equal to -1/2 if x is equal to pi over 6, or x is equal to 5 pi over 6. All right, and that is for our first case, which is, apologies, is 1/2, and we have to evaluate our second case, which is -1. So that's for case number 1. And for case number 2, sine x will be equal to -1 when x is equal to -pi over 2. So we can say that cos 2x equals sine x cos 2x is equal to sine x, given the range. negative pi less than or equal to, and pi, that this is true when x is negative pi over 2, pi over 6, and 5 pi over 6. Okay, and that is